So there's a couple of ways to look at this. I would say that competition is a really, really good thing. Without competition, there's probably no important problem to solve. So if other people aren't seeing the same thing that you are, then either you're like, you are light years ahead of the crowd, which is amazing, but probably not the case, or the reality is that you don't have a problem worth solving. Assuming that you do have a problem worth solving, there should be competition, and you should look at it as a good thing. I actually find that competition helps me as an entrepreneur, and actually pushes me harder than than anything really could. I'm really, really competitive, and competition drives me in ways that I never thought was possible. But competition also drives the rest of your team as well. When we were a smaller company and we were trying to build a platform to run marketing campaigns on Facebook and other sites, a lot of the market really didn't know what we were talking about. There were customers that we were able to acquire and sell to, and slowly we were able to build more and more of a customer base. But if you talk to the average person, talk to my parents or other people, they didn't necessarily understand what we were doing. It was too early. So it was really our competition that we ended up always looking at as sort of our reference point to judge how well we were doing. And it really, did a great job of galvanizing the team and giving them something to look at, measure themselves with, and compete against. And that made us better. It just pushed us. We had such a great competitive market that we I think we worked harder, we built better product, we did a better job of selling to customers, almost exclusively because there was so much energy and with the competition that if we wanted to survive, we had to continually be pushing ourselves and really push ourselves harder than we originally had even thought. I mean, there's times where we had to compress our roadmaps or make important trade-offs in our roadmap that we wouldn't have had if there was no competition. And when you're putting in those situations, you really find out what the most important things are in the business. And for example, in the context of what the product roadmap, what the most important feature is. And you end up realizing, well, actually, wait a second, maybe those other things aren't really as important as I once thought, and that ends up making you better and more efficient. In terms of dealing with competition on a day-to-day basis, I find that as important as it is to kind of monitor your competition and use it to fuel your decision making and your growth and to ultimately make the company better, just constantly dwelling on what the competition is doing almost exclusively is also not a great idea either. And so what we would do is focus on several different inputs of kind of advice or information in order to make decisions, where competition was one of those inputs, but not the only one. Customers was, if competition was 1/5, I would say that customers were 3/5, and or 2/5 at the beginning, and maybe 3/5 as the market got more mature, and ultimately the talent that we had in the company made up the other balance, the 1/5, and so we would go and on an ongoing basis we would go and take our own internal views on the market and what we should do, and then complement that with not just what the competition is thinking, but also what the customers are actually saying to us, and ultimately putting more emphasis on what customers are saying, because they're the ones who have the dollars that are actually buying your product, not your competition.